At first, it's barely noticeable. Your dog still greets you, still eats normally, still follows their usual routine. But something feels different. Maybe they don't come as close as they used to. Maybe they stop sitting next to you on the couch. Maybe those small moments of connection, the ones you didn't even think about, start to quietly disappear. And because nothing seems obviously wrong, most people don't think much of it. They assume their dog is just tired, or getting older, or simply having an off day. But animal behavior experts say these subtle changes can sometimes mean something much more important. Because when a dog begins to pull away, it rarely happens all at once. It happens gradually, in small, almost invisible ways, and by the time most owners notice it, the signs have been there for much longer than they realize. So the question is, would you recognize those signs if they were happening right now? Most people don't expect emotional distance from a dog. Dogs are known for loyalty, for attachment, for always wanting to be close to their owners. So when that closeness starts to change, it's easy to overlook, because the signs don't look dramatic. There's no clear moment where everything shifts. Instead, it shows up in subtle ways. A dog that used to follow you from room to room now stays behind. A dog that used to sit beside you now chooses a spot across the room. A dog that once looked at you constantly now seems a little more distant. Individually, none of these changes seem like a big deal, but taken together they can tell a very different story. Because in the world of animal behavior, small changes in routine often mean something important. Dogs are creatures of habit. They repeat behaviors that make them feel safe, connected, and secure. So when those behaviors begin to fade, it's usually not random, it's a response. And the challenge is, most of these signals are easy to miss unless you know exactly what to look for. Which brings us to the first sign. The first signs are often the quietest. A dog that once followed you everywhere suddenly doesn't. You walk into another room, and instead of getting up to join you, they stay where they are. At first, it seems harmless. Maybe they're just relaxed. Maybe they're tired. But proximity is one of the strongest indicators of connection in dogs. When dogs feel closely bonded, they naturally choose to stay near the people they trust. So when that instinct begins to fade, it can be one of the earliest signals that something has changed. Another sign shows up in eye contact. Dogs that feel connected to their owners often check in visually. Quick glances, soft eye contact, small moments of attention throughout the day. But when a dog starts avoiding those moments, or stops looking at you altogether, it can signal emotional distance. And then there's physical contact. A dog that used to sit beside you, lean against you, or rest near your feet may slowly begin choosing space instead. Not suddenly, but gradually. And that's what makes these signs so easy to miss. Because each one on its own feels small, but together they begin to form a pattern. And that pattern can reveal more than most owners realize. As the distance grows, the signs often become a little more noticeable, but still easy to misinterpret. One of the clearest shifts happens in how your dog responds to you. A dog that used to react instantly to your voice now hesitates. You call their name, and instead of looking right at you, there's a pause. Sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't. It's subtle, but it matters, because responsiveness is closely tied to engagement. When dogs feel connected, they're naturally tuned into their owner's voice, movements, and presence. So when that response weakens, it can signal a drop in that connection. Another sign appears in daily routines. Dogs are creatures of habit. They thrive on predictable patterns, feeding times, walks, moments of interaction. But when a dog begins to pull away, those routines can start to shift. They may lose interest in activities they once enjoyed. They may seem less excited during walks, less engaged during play. And then there's something even more important: changes in sleep behavior. A dog that once chose to rest near you may begin sleeping farther away, in another room, in a corner, or on a different surface altogether. And in animal behavior, changes in sleeping location are rarely random. They often reflect how safe, comfortable, or connected an animal feels in its environment. But here's where things get more complicated. Because emotional distance isn't always about the relationship itself. Here's the part most people don't expect. When a dog starts pulling away, it's not always about losing interest in you. In many cases, it's the opposite. Dogs don't create distance without a reason, and sometimes that distance has nothing to do with emotion, and everything to do with how they're feeling physically or mentally. For example, veterinary researchers have found that subtle behavior changes are often one of the earliest signs of discomfort or pain. Long before a dog shows obvious symptoms like limping or vocalizing, they may simply become quieter, less interactive, more withdrawn. Not because they want to be alone, but because something doesn't feel right. The same pattern can happen with stress. Changes in the environment, a new routine, a new person, a new pet, can shift how secure a dog feels. And when that sense of stability changes, dogs often adjust their behavior in small, gradual ways. They don't explain it. They don't signal it clearly. They just change, which means what looks like emotional distance might actually be a form of communication. A quiet way of telling you that something is different. And that's why recognizing these signs early matters more than most people realize. So if you've noticed even a few of these small changes, it doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong between you and your dog. But it does mean something is worth paying attention to. Because dogs don't communicate with words. They communicate through behavior, through the way they move, the way they rest, the way they respond to you, and sometimes through the quiet ways they begin to create distance. And those changes, no matter how small, always have a reason behind them. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's environmental, sometimes it's physical, but it's never random. The important thing is not to panic, but to notice, to be present, to understand that those small shifts may be your dog's way of telling you something before it becomes obvious. Because the earlier you recognize it, the easier it is to respond. So now I'm curious. Have you ever noticed your dog becoming a little more distant over time? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to better understand the hidden signals behind your dog's behavior, don't forget to subscribe for the next video.